Dr. Malcolm Anderson walked into the upscale restaurant, the soft hum of conversation and the clinking of silverware creating a welcoming ambiance. He adjusted his tie and straightened his blazer, the culmination of a long day of consultations and surgeries behind him. Tonight, he was here to celebrate, a rare evening off to enjoy the company of his colleagues and friends. The restaurant, Le Jardin Étoile, was renowned for its exquisite cuisine and impeccable service. It was a place where the city's elite gathered, a symbol of prestige and success. For Malcolm, this evening was not just about the food. It was about recognition. His recent work at the hospital had earned him accolades, and his peers were eager to toast to his achievements. As he walked towards the reserved table, Malcolm noticed the subtle glances from other patrons. He was used to the attention. His towering frame, sharp features, and the confidence that came with his profession often drew eyes. Tonight, however, the glances seemed different, more pointed, more scrutinizing. He reached the table where his friends had already gathered. Dr. Susan Evans, his close colleague and friend, greeted him with a warm smile. "Malcolm, you made it! We were just about to order." "Wouldn't miss it for the world," he replied, pulling out a chair and joining the group. The evening progressed smoothly. Laughter and stories filled the air, the camaraderie among the group evident. Malcolm felt at ease, the stress of his demanding job melting away with each passing moment. As the main course was served, Malcolm excused himself to use the restroom. On his way back, he noticed a commotion near the entrance. 2 police officers had entered the restaurant and were speaking with the maitre d'. Malcolm paid little attention, assuming it was a routine check or perhaps an issue with another patron. Returning to his table, he resumed his conversation with Susan. The 2 officers, however, had begun making their way through the restaurant, stopping at various tables and showing people a photo. Malcolm's curiosity piqued, and he watched as they approached closer. Finally, one of the officers reached their table. "Excuse me, sir," the officer said, directing his attention to Malcolm. "May we have a word with you?" Malcolm frowned, confused. "Of course, is something wrong?" "Could you step outside with us, please?" His friends exchanged worried glances. Malcolm stood up, his demeanor calm but curious. "I'll be right back," he assured them. Outside, the officer showed Malcolm a photo. "Do you know this man?" Malcolm glanced at the photo. It was a blurry image, barely discernible. "No, I don't think so. Why?" The officer's expression hardened. "We received a report about a suspect matching your description involved in a recent incident. We need to ask you a few questions." Malcolm's confusion turned to frustration. "I'm a doctor. I've been at the hospital all day and now I'm here with my friends. I think you've made a mistake." The second officer stepped closer, his tone less accommodating. "We're going to need you to come down to the station." "What? This is absurd!" Malcolm exclaimed. "I haven't done anything wrong. I'm not going anywhere." By now, a small crowd had gathered, including some of the restaurant staff and patrons. Whispers spread quickly, eyes fixed on the scene unfolding before them. The first officer reached for his handcuffs. "Sir, I'm going to have to insist." Malcolm's heart raced. He felt the weight of every gaze upon him, the humiliation and anger building within him. "This is a mistake," he said, his voice strained. "Call my brother. He'll clear this up." The officers exchanged a glance. "Who's your brother?" the second officer asked skeptically. "Chief Justice Harold Anderson," Malcolm replied, his voice steady. "And he's not going to be happy about this." There was a moment of silence as the weight of Malcolm's words sank in. The officers hesitated, the realization of their actions beginning to dawn on them. The crowd, too, seemed to hold its breath, waiting to see what would happen next. One of the officers finally spoke, his tone softer but still firm. "We'll verify that, but for now, you need to come with us." Malcolm had no choice but to comply. As he was led away, he could feel the eyes of the onlookers on him, the whispers growing louder. He was a respected doctor, a man of integrity and honor, but tonight he was being treated as a suspect, his dignity stripped away in front of everyone. As they drove to the station, Malcolm's mind raced. He knew his brother would clear this up, but the damage was already done. The humiliation, the degradation, he would not forget this night, and neither would anyone who had witnessed it. The drive to the station felt interminable. Malcolm sat in the back of the police car, his mind a whirlwind of anger, frustration, and disbelief. The officers hadn't spoken much, their initial sternness now replaced with an uneasy silence. Upon arrival, Malcolm was led into a sterile, brightly lit room. The officers sat him down and began the routine questioning. Malcolm answered with a mix of defiance and cooperation, knowing that any resistance could worsen his situation. "Your name?" "Dr. Malcolm Anderson." "Occupation?" "Cardiothoracic surgeon at St. Mary's Hospital." The questioning continued, but Malcolm's patience was wearing thin. "Look, I've told you everything. I'm not your suspect. Call my brother." The officers exchanged a glance. One of them left the room, presumably to make the call. Malcolm leaned back in his chair, trying to maintain his composure. He knew Harold would handle this, but the humiliation he felt was a wound that would take time to heal. After what felt like an eternity, the door opened, and a tall, imposing figure walked in. It was Harold Anderson, his expression a mix of concern and controlled fury. "Malcolm!" he said, striding over to his brother. "Are you okay?" Malcolm nodded. "I'm fine, Harold. Just get me out of here." Harold turned to the officers, his voice icy. "I want an explanation. Now!" The senior officer stepped forward, looking visibly uncomfortable. "Chief Justice Anderson, we received a report about a suspect matching your brother's description involved in a recent theft at a nearby jewelry store. We were acting on that report." Harold's eyes narrowed. "And did you bother to verify his alibi before dragging him down here?" "We were in the process of—" "Save it!" Harold cut him off. "You've made a serious mistake. My brother is a respected doctor, not a criminal. You should have exercised better judgment." The officer stammered, "We were just following procedure, sir." Harold took a deep breath, his expression softening slightly. "Procedure or not, you've wrongfully detained an innocent man. I expect a full apology and immediate release." The officers complied, and Malcolm was soon free to go. As they walked out of the station, Malcolm could feel the eyes of the officers and other detainees on him. Harold placed a reassuring hand on his shoulder. "We'll get this sorted out, Malcolm. Don't worry." Back in the car, Malcolm sighed. "This shouldn't have happened, Harold. It's not just about me. It's about the prejudice and assumptions they made because of my skin color." Harold nodded solemnly. "I know. And we're going to make sure this doesn't get swept under the rug. They need to be held accountable." The drive back to Malcolm's apartment was quiet, both brothers lost in their thoughts. When they arrived, Harold turned to Malcolm. "I'll contact the media and make sure this story gets out. They need to understand the consequences of their actions." Malcolm nodded, grateful for his brother's support. "Thanks, Harold. I appreciate it." Over the next few days, the story spread like wildfire. The media picked up on the incident, and public outcry followed. The police department issued a formal apology, but the damage was already done. Malcolm received numerous messages of support from colleagues, patients, and even strangers who had heard about his ordeal. Despite the apology, Malcolm couldn't shake the feeling of injustice. He returned to his work, but the incident remained a shadow over his achievements. He knew he had to use his experience to advocate for change, to ensure that no one else would have to endure what he had. A month later, Malcolm stood at a podium addressing a packed auditorium. "What happened to me was not an isolated incident," he began, his voice steady and resolute. "It was a symptom of a deeper issue that affects many people every day. We must work together to combat prejudice and ensure justice for all." The crowd erupted in applause, and Malcolm felt a sense of purpose. His humiliation had transformed into a mission, and he was determined to make a difference. The road ahead would be long and challenging, but he knew he was not alone. With the support of his brother and the community, he was ready to fight for a better future. The weeks that followed Malcolm's public address were a whirlwind. His story had struck a chord, and he was inundated with invitations to speak, requests for interviews, and messages of support. What started as a personal ordeal had become a catalyst for a broader movement against racial prejudice and injustice. One evening, as Malcolm was catching up on patient reports in his office, his phone buzzed. It was an unknown number, but something compelled him to answer. "Dr. Anderson speaking." "Dr. Anderson, this is Maya Collins from the Civil Rights Advocacy Group. I've been following your story closely, and I'm deeply moved by your resilience and determination. We'd like to invite you to be a keynote speaker at our upcoming national conference. Your voice could inspire many and help drive change." Malcolm paused, considering the weight of the request. "Thank you, Miss Collins. I'm honored. When is the conference?" 2 weeks from today in Washington, D.C., we believe your experience and perspective are crucial for our discussions." After a brief conversation, Malcolm agreed. He felt a renewed sense of purpose, knowing this was an opportunity to make a tangible impact. The conference venue was abuzz with energy. Activists, community leaders, and influential figures filled the hall, all united by a common goal. As Malcolm took the stage, he looked out at the sea of faces and felt a surge of determination. "Good evening," he began, his voice resonating through the auditorium. "My name is Dr. Malcolm Anderson, and I stand before you today not just as a victim of injustice, but as a voice for change. What happened to me was a stark reminder that prejudice still permeates our society. But I am not here to dwell on the past. I am here to advocate for a future where no one has to face what I did." He spoke passionately about the need for systemic change, for better training for law enforcement, and for greater accountability. The audience was captivated, and as he finished, the applause was thunderous. After his speech, Malcolm was approached by numerous attendees, each eager to share their support and ideas. One such attendee was a young activist named Jordan Williams, whose enthusiasm was contagious. "Dr. Anderson, your speech was incredible," Jordan said. "I'm organizing a grassroots campaign to push for police reform, and I would be honored if you could join us. Your experience and influence could be the driving force we need." Malcolm smiled, seeing a reflection of his younger, idealistic self in Jordan. "I'd be glad to help. Let's discuss how we can work together." In the following months, Malcolm and Jordan collaborated closely. They organized rallies, met with lawmakers, and engaged with communities to raise awareness and push for legislative changes. Their efforts began to bear fruit as more people joined their cause and momentum built. One pivotal moment came when they secured a meeting with Senator Rebecca Lawson, a key player in the push for police reform. The meeting was intense, with Malcolm and Jordan presenting compelling arguments and personal stories that highlighted the urgent need for change. Senator Lawson listened intently, her expression thoughtful. "Your passion and dedication are evident," she said finally. "I am committed to supporting this cause and will introduce a bill that addresses the issues you've raised. It won't be easy, but with your continued support and advocacy, I believe we can make a real difference." The announcement of the bill was a significant victory, but Malcolm knew the fight was far from over. There were still many hurdles to overcome, but the progress they had made was encouraging. Malcolm returned to his work at the hospital, balancing his demanding career with his activism. He was often exhausted, but the sense of purpose drove him forward. He continued to speak at events, mentor young activists like Jordan, and advocate for change. One evening, as he sat in his office reflecting on the journey so far, his phone buzzed. It was a message from Harold. "Proud of you, brother. Keep fighting the good fight." Malcolm smiled, feeling a surge of gratitude. The support of his family, friends, and newfound allies had been instrumental in his journey. He knew there was still much work to be done, but he was ready for it. With renewed determination, Malcolm stood up, ready to face whatever challenges lay ahead. He was not just a doctor. He was an advocate, a mentor, and a beacon of hope for many. And he would continue to fight for justice, one step at a time. The weeks following the introduction of the police reform bill were a flurry of activity and anticipation. Malcolm and Jordan, alongside other advocates, worked tirelessly to gather support and ensure the bill's passage. Public interest and media attention grew, casting a spotlight on the critical need for change. One morning, as Malcolm was reviewing patient charts in his office, he received a call from Jordan. "Malcolm, we've been invited to speak at a televised town hall meeting next week. Senator Lawson will be there, and it's a chance to address the nation directly." Malcolm agreed without hesitation. The town hall meeting represented a significant opportunity to reach a wider audience and emphasize the importance of the reform bill. The day of the town hall arrived quickly. Malcolm, dressed in a sharp suit, felt a mix of nerves and determination as he stepped into the studio. The room was filled with journalists, community leaders, and citizens eager to hear the discussion. Senator Lawson opened the event, outlining the key provisions of the bill and its potential impact. Our goal is to ensure accountability and build trust between law enforcement and the communities they serve, she stated. When it was Malcolm's turn to speak, he took a deep breath and approached the podium. Good evening. I stand before you not just as a doctor, but as someone who has experienced the very issues this bill aims to address. My wrongful detainment was not an isolated incident. It's a reflection of a systemic problem that needs to be fixed. He spoke passionately about the need for comprehensive training, transparency, and community involvement in law enforcement practices. His words resonated with the audience, and he could see nods of agreement and understanding. Jordan followed with a powerful speech about the grassroots efforts and the stories of those affected by police misconduct. This is not just about policy, it's about people's lives and their right to justice and dignity, he said. The town hall concluded with a Q&A session, where Malcolm and Jordan answered questions from the audience. The atmosphere was charged with hope and determination, and Malcolm felt a renewed sense of purpose. In the days that followed, the momentum continued to build. Media coverage of the town hall brought national attention to their cause. Public support grew, and pressure on lawmakers to pass the bill intensified. One evening, as Malcolm was unwinding at home, he received a call from Senator Lawson. Malcolm, I have good news. The bill has passed the initial committee vote and is moving to the full Senate for consideration. Malcolm felt a surge of relief and excitement. That's fantastic news, Senator. We'll keep pushing and rallying support. The final vote in the Senate was a tense affair. Malcolm, Jordan, and other advocates gathered at the Capitol awaiting the outcome. The atmosphere was electric, a mix of anticipation and anxiety. When the results were announced, a wave of elation swept through the room. The bill had passed with a significant majority. Malcolm hugged Jordan, feeling a profound sense of accomplishment and relief. Senator Lawson approached them, a broad smile on her face. We did it! This is a monumental step forward. Malcolm nodded, his eyes shining with emotion. Thank you, Senator. This wouldn't have been possible without your support and dedication. The victory was celebrated with a press conference where Malcolm addressed the nation once more. This is not the end, but the beginning of a new chapter. We have shown that change is possible when we come together and fight for what is right. Let this be a testament to our resilience and our commitment to justice. The following days were filled with interviews, meetings, and celebrations. Malcolm knew that the real work was just beginning. Implementing the reforms and ensuring they made a tangible difference in people's lives would be an ongoing challenge. Back at the hospital, Malcolm resumed his duties with a renewed sense of purpose. He balanced his medical career with his advocacy work, knowing that both roles were integral to his identity and mission. One evening, as he was leaving the hospital, he received a message from Jordan. We've made great strides, Malcolm. Let's keep pushing forward. Malcolm replied with a simple but heartfelt message. Absolutely. Together we can make lasting change. As he walked to his car, Malcolm felt a deep sense of fulfillment. The journey had been arduous, but every step had been worth it. He was ready to continue the fight for justice, knowing that with determination and unity, anything was possible. The passage of the police reform bill marked a significant milestone, but Malcolm knew the journey was far from over. Implementation was the next crucial step, and ensuring that the reforms made a tangible impact required continued vigilance and effort. In the weeks following the bill's passage, Malcolm and Jordan focused on building a coalition of community leaders, activists, and law enforcement officials. Their goal was to create a task force that would oversee the implementation of the reforms and ensure accountability. One sunny afternoon, Malcolm and Jordan met with the newly formed task force in a community center. The room was filled with a diverse group of individuals, each bringing their unique perspectives and expertise to the table. Among them was Chief Edwards, a progressive police chief who had been a vocal supporter of the reforms. Thank you all for being here, Malcolm began, addressing the group. This task force represents a unique opportunity to bridge the gap between law enforcement and the communities they serve. Our goal is to ensure that the reforms are implemented effectively and that we build a foundation of trust and cooperation. Chief Edwards nodded in agreement. We need to focus on transparent practices, comprehensive training, and community engagement. It's not just about changing policies, it's about changing mindsets. The discussions were productive, and a clear action plan began to take shape. Regular community forums, enhanced training programs, and a robust system for tracking and addressing complaints were among the key initiatives. As the meeting concluded, Jordan pulled Malcolm aside. "I've been thinking," he said, a hint of excitement in his voice. "We should create a mentorship program for young people in our community. It could provide guidance and support and help build positive relationships with law enforcement." Malcolm smiled, appreciating Jordan's forward-thinking approach. "That's a brilliant idea, Jordan. Let's make it happen." The mentorship program, dubbed Bridges, was launched a few months later. It paired young people with mentors from various professions, including law enforcement, healthcare, and education. The program aimed to inspire and empower the next generation, while also fostering mutual understanding and respect. One of the first mentees was a bright teenager named Alex, who had dreams of becoming a doctor. Malcolm took a special interest in him, seeing a reflection of his younger self. They met regularly, discussing Alex's aspirations, challenges, and the steps he needed to take to achieve his goals. During one of their meetings, Alex expressed his gratitude. "Dr. Anderson, I can't thank you enough for your guidance. You've shown me that I can overcome any obstacle and make a difference." Malcolm felt a surge of pride. "Alex, you have incredible potential. Remember, it's not just about achieving your dreams, but also about giving back to your community. Keep pushing forward and never forget where you came from." As the months passed, the task force made significant strides. Reports of police misconduct decreased, community police relations improved, and the mentorship program flourished. Malcolm balanced his medical career with his advocacy work, finding fulfillment in both roles. One evening, as Malcolm was preparing for bed, he received a call from Jordan. "Malcolm, I just got word that our efforts are being recognized at the national level. We've been invited to the White House to discuss our initiatives and their impact." Malcolm was taken aback. "The White House? That's incredible news, Jordan. This is a testament to the hard work of everyone involved." The invitation to the White House was a defining moment. Malcolm, Jordan, and Chief Edwards traveled to Washington, D.C., where they met with senior officials and shared their experiences and successes. Their story of community-driven change resonated deeply, and they were commended for their innovative approach. During the visit, Malcolm had a chance to speak directly with the president. "Your dedication to justice and community building is truly inspiring, Dr. Anderson," the president said. "We need more leaders like you, who are willing to stand up and make a difference." Malcolm felt a profound sense of responsibility and honor. "Thank you, Mr. President. This journey has been a collective effort, and it's shown me the power of unity and perseverance." As they returned home, Malcolm reflected on the incredible journey he had undertaken. What began as a personal ordeal had transformed into a movement for change, driven by the unwavering commitment of individuals like Jordan, Chief Edwards, and countless others. Standing on the steps of the community center, Malcolm looked out at the bustling neighborhood. He felt a deep sense of pride and hope. The fight for justice was ongoing, but they had made meaningful progress. With continued effort and collaboration, he knew they could build a future where every individual was treated with dignity and respect. And so, Malcolm Anderson, the doctor who had faced humiliation and prejudice, became a beacon of hope and a symbol of change. His story was a testament to the power of resilience, the importance of community, and the belief that one person could indeed make a difference. With the success of the police reform bill and the Bridges mentorship program, Malcolm found himself busier than ever. He balanced his demanding medical career with his newfound role as a community leader and advocate for justice. Yet he felt an undeniable sense of fulfillment. The work was challenging, but the progress was tangible, and the impact on the community was profound. One evening, Malcolm received an unexpected visitor at his office. It was a young woman named Lila, her eyes filled with a mix of determination and hope. "Dr. Anderson," she began, "I've been following your work closely. I'm a journalist, and I'd like to write a book about your journey and the movement you've inspired." Malcolm was taken aback. "A book? I'm honored, Lila, but I'm just one part of a much larger effort. There are many voices that need to be heard. Lila smiled. I agree. That's why I want to include stories from everyone involved. Jordan, Chief Edwards, the mentees from Bridges, and the community members who've been impacted. Your story is the heart of it, but it's also about the collective effort. Malcolm nodded thoughtfully. All right, let's do it. If sharing our journey can inspire others to take action, then it's worth it. Over the next several months, Lila immersed herself in the project, conducting interviews, attending community meetings, and shadowing Malcolm and his team. The book began to take shape, capturing the highs and lows, the struggles and triumphs, and the relentless drive for justice and equality. As the book neared completion, Lila approached Malcolm with an idea. There's a national book tour planned to promote the book. I think it would be powerful if you could join me. We can use it as a platform to share your message and continue advocating for change. Malcolm agreed, seeing the potential to reach an even broader audience. The tour kicked off in New York City, with a packed auditorium eagerly awaiting Malcolm's words. As he took the stage, he felt a familiar surge of determination. Good evening, he began. My name is Dr. Malcolm Anderson. The story you're about to hear is not just mine, but ours. It's a story of resilience, unity, and the unwavering belief that we can create a better future. He spoke about his journey, the reforms, and the importance of community-driven change. He highlighted the stories of individuals like Jordan and Alex, whose lives had been transformed through their collective efforts. The response was overwhelming. Each stop on the tour drew larger crowds, and the book quickly became a bestseller. Malcolm's message resonated deeply, inspiring countless individuals to take action in their own communities. One evening, after a particularly moving event in Chicago, Malcolm received a call from an old friend, Dr. Susan Evans. Malcolm, I've been following your tour. Your work is incredible. I'm organizing a conference on social justice in healthcare, and I'd love for you to be the keynote speaker. Malcolm's heart swelled with pride. I'd be honored, Susan. Thank you for thinking of me. The conference was a resounding success, with healthcare professionals from across the country gathering to discuss the intersection of social justice and medicine. Malcolm's keynote address emphasized the need for equity in healthcare, sharing stories of his patients and the systemic challenges they faced. Healthcare is a fundamental human right, he declared. As doctors, we have a responsibility to advocate for our patients, not just in the exam room, but in society at large. We must address the root causes of inequality and work towards a system that serves everyone, regardless of their background or circumstances. The audience responded with a standing ovation, and Malcolm knew that his message had struck a chord. As the years passed, Malcolm continued to juggle his roles as a doctor, advocate, and mentor. The Bridges program expanded nationally, helping thousands of young people realize their potential. The reforms he had fought for became a model for other cities, leading to widespread changes in policing and community relations. One sunny afternoon, Malcolm stood on the steps of the community center, watching as a new group of mentees excitedly entered the building. Among them was Alex, now a medical student, who had returned to serve as a mentor himself. Dr. Anderson, Alex called out, walking over with a broad smile. I wanted to thank you for everything. Your guidance and support changed my life, and now I get to help others the way you helped me. Malcolm felt a lump in his throat. I'm proud of you, Alex. You're proof that together, we can make a difference. As he looked around at the vibrant, thriving community, Malcolm felt a deep sense of accomplishment. The journey had been long and arduous, but the impact was undeniable. He had turned his personal ordeal into a legacy of hope and change, and he knew that the work would continue, carried on by the countless individuals he had inspired. With a heart full of gratitude and determination, Malcolm Anderson walked back into the community center, ready to embrace whatever challenges and opportunities lay ahead. For him, the fight for justice and equality was not just a mission, but a lifelong commitment. Years had passed since the police reform bill and the launch of the Bridges mentorship program. Malcolm Anderson's name had become synonymous with justice and community empowerment. His tireless efforts had led to tangible changes in policing, healthcare, and education. Yet, despite all the progress, Malcolm knew that the work was never truly finished. One morning, as Malcolm was preparing for a meeting at the community center, he received an unexpected call from Jordan Williams, now the executive director of a national civil rights organization. "Malcolm, I have exciting news," Jordan said, his voice buzzing with enthusiasm. "We've been awarded a significant grant to expand the Bridges program into 5 new cities. This is a huge opportunity to reach even more young people." Malcolm smiled, pride swelling in his chest. "That's incredible, Jordan. We've come a long way. Let's make sure we use this opportunity to its fullest potential." Over the next few months, Malcolm and Jordan worked tirelessly to set up the new programs. They traveled to each city, meeting with local leaders, educators, and law enforcement officials to ensure the initiative's success. The expansion required a tremendous amount of coordination and effort, but the impact was profound. One of the new cities was Atlanta, where the community had been struggling with tensions between residents and the police. Malcolm's presence brought hope and renewed focus. During a town hall meeting, a young woman named Tasha stood up to speak. "Dr. Anderson, my name is Tasha Williams. I'm a high school senior, and I want to become a lawyer to help fight for justice in our community. Your story and the Bridges program have inspired me more than you can imagine." Malcolm was deeply moved. "Thank you, Tasha. It's young leaders like you who give me hope for the future. Remember, the fight for justice is a marathon, not a sprint. Stay committed, and you can achieve great things." Tasha's words echoed in Malcolm's mind as he continued his work. He saw in her the same determination and passion that had driven him for so many years. It reminded him that the true legacy of his efforts was the empowerment of the next generation. As the Bridges program flourished, Malcolm also turned his attention back to healthcare. He began collaborating with hospitals across the country to develop programs that addressed health disparities in underserved communities. His approach was holistic, combining medical care with social services and community support. One day, while visiting a clinic in Detroit, Malcolm was approached by Dr. Renee Johnson, a young pediatrician who had been inspired by his work. "Dr. Anderson, it's an honor to meet you. I've been following your initiatives closely, and I'd love to implement similar programs here in Detroit. Our community needs comprehensive care that addresses both medical and social determinants of health." Malcolm shook her hand warmly. "Dr. Johnson, it's a pleasure to meet you. I'm thrilled to see your enthusiasm. Let's work together to make this vision a reality." Their collaboration led to the establishment of the Detroit Health Initiative, a program that provided free medical services, nutritional counseling, and educational workshops. The initiative became a model for other cities, showcasing how healthcare could be a powerful tool for social change. As the years went by, Malcolm's influence continued to grow. He received numerous awards and accolades, but what mattered most to him was the impact on the lives of those he served. He remained deeply connected to his roots, always finding time to mentor young people and advocate for justice. One evening, as Malcolm was reflecting on his journey, he received a call from Alex, now a renowned surgeon and a prominent voice in medical ethics. "Dr. Anderson, I wanted to share some news with you," Alex said. "I've been appointed to the board of the National Medical Association. Your mentorship and guidance have been instrumental in my career, and I'm committed to continuing your legacy." Malcolm felt a swell of pride. "Alex, you've accomplished so much. I'm incredibly proud of you. Keep pushing the boundaries and advocating for what's right." As Malcolm hung up the phone, he felt a deep sense of fulfillment. The seeds he had planted had grown into a flourishing garden of change and empowerment. He had faced immense challenges, but his resilience and dedication had created a ripple effect that would last for generations. With a heart full of gratitude, Malcolm Anderson prepared for the next chapter of his journey. He knew that the fight for justice was never truly over, but he was ready to embrace whatever came next, confident that the torch had been passed to capable hands. And so, Malcolm continued his life's work, always striving to make the world a better place. His legacy was not just in the policies he helped change or the programs he established, but in the countless lives he touched and the new generation of leaders he inspired. Malcolm Anderson stood on the precipice of a new era. With the expansion of the Bridges program and the success of the Detroit Health Initiative, he had witnessed firsthand the transformative power of community-driven change. Yet as he looked towards the future, He felt a growing sense of responsibility to address the broader, systemic issues that continued to plague society. One day, Malcolm received an invitation from an international organization dedicated to human rights and social justice. They were hosting a global summit in Geneva, and they wanted Malcolm to speak about his work and share insights on fostering community empowerment. The invitation intrigued him. It was an opportunity to expand his impact beyond national borders and to learn from other leaders around the world. After discussing it with Jordan and his team, Malcolm decided to accept. The summit was a grand affair, attended by activists, policymakers, and thought leaders from across the globe. Malcolm was scheduled to deliver the keynote address on the second day, but he spent the first day attending various sessions, eager to absorb new ideas and perspectives. During one panel discussion on police reform, he met Dr. Priya Raman, a renowned human rights lawyer from India. Her work focused on combating police brutality and advocating for marginalized communities. Dr. Anderson, Priya greeted him warmly during a break. Your efforts in the United States are truly inspiring. We face similar challenges in India, and I believe there is much we can learn from each other. Malcolm smiled. Thank you, Dr. Raman. I've heard about your work as well. Perhaps we can collaborate and find ways to support each other's initiatives. Their conversation sparked a series of discussions and brainstorming sessions. They realized that, despite cultural and contextual differences, the core issues of justice, equality, and community empowerment were universal. The next day, Malcolm took the stage for his keynote address. The auditorium was filled with eager faces, representing a myriad of countries and backgrounds. Good morning, Malcolm began. It's an honor to be here with so many passionate advocates for justice. Our struggles may be unique to our respective regions, but our goals are the same, to create a world where everyone is treated with dignity and respect. He shared his journey, from the humiliating encounter with the police to the transformative impact of the Bridges program and the Detroit Health Initiative. He emphasized the importance of local leadership, community engagement, and the relentless pursuit of justice. As he concluded, he said, "Let us remember that change begins with each of us. By working together, sharing our experiences, and supporting one another, we can build a global movement for justice and equality." The response was overwhelmingly positive. Delegates from various countries approached him with ideas for collaboration and expressions of gratitude for his inspiring words. After the summit, Malcolm returned to the United States with a renewed sense of purpose. He and Priya stayed in touch, exploring ways to create an international network of activists and community leaders. They organized virtual conferences, exchanged resources, and launched joint initiatives to address common challenges. Back home, Malcolm continued his work with the Bridges program and the Detroit Health Initiative, but he also dedicated time to this new international endeavor. He traveled to different countries, sharing his experiences and learning from others. Each trip reinforced his belief in the power of global solidarity. One of the most impactful collaborations was with a youth organization in Brazil, which aimed to empower young people in favelas through education and community service. Malcolm visited Rio de Janeiro, where he met with the organization's leaders and spoke with the youth involved in the program. During a community event, a young man named Lucas approached Malcolm. "Dr. Anderson, your story has given me hope. I want to become a doctor like you and help my community." Malcolm was deeply touched. "Lucas, you have the passion and determination to achieve your dreams. Keep working hard and remember that you're not alone. We're all part of a larger movement." As Malcolm watched Lucas interact with his peers, he felt a profound sense of connection. The struggles and aspirations of these young people were a testament to the universal desire for a better life and a just society. Back in the United States, Malcolm's efforts began to attract the attention of national policymakers. He was invited to testify before Congress about the successes of the Bridges program and the Detroit Health Initiative, and to advocate for more substantial federal support for similar initiatives. In his testimony, Malcolm highlighted the importance of addressing social determinants of health, investing in education and community programs, and fostering trust between law enforcement and communities. His words resonated with many lawmakers, and he saw the potential for broader systemic change. One evening, as Malcolm reflected on his journey, he received a message from Tasha Williams. She had just graduated from law school and had secured a position with a prominent civil rights organization. "Dr. Anderson," Tasha wrote, "I wanted to thank you for your mentorship and inspiration. Your guidance has been invaluable, and I'm excited to continue the fight for justice." Malcolm's heart swelled with pride. Tasha's success was a testament to the impact of his work and the power of nurturing the next generation of leaders. With each passing day, Malcolm felt more optimistic about the future. The journey had been long and challenging, but the progress was undeniable. He had built a legacy of hope and empowerment, and he knew that the seeds he had sown would continue to grow and flourish. As he prepared for another day of work, Malcolm looked out at the bustling city. The fight for justice was ongoing, but he was ready for whatever challenges lay ahead. With the support of a global community and the determination to make a difference, he knew that the future was bright. And so, Malcolm Anderson continued his life's work, driven by the belief that together they could create a world where justice and equality prevailed. The journey was far from over, but with each step, they were moving closer to a better, more just world. Malcolm Anderson had become a symbol of hope and resilience, not just in the United States but around the world. His tireless work had inspired countless others to take action in their own communities. Yet despite the progress, Malcolm knew there was still much to be done. One day, as he was wrapping up a clinic visit in Detroit, he received a call from Priya Raman. "Malcolm, I have some exciting news," Priya said, her voice filled with enthusiasm. "The United Nations is launching a new initiative focused on global justice and equity, and they want us to be part of the advisory board." Malcolm's eyes widened with surprise. "That's incredible, Priya. This is a huge opportunity to influence global policy and make a real impact." The initiative, titled Justice for All, aimed to address systemic inequalities and promote human rights across the globe. As part of the advisory board, Malcolm and Priya would work alongside other influential leaders to develop strategies and policies that could be implemented worldwide. The first meeting took place at the UN headquarters in New York City. Malcolm felt a mixture of pride and humility as he entered the grand building, knowing that his journey had led him to this pivotal moment. During the meeting, they discussed a range of issues, from police reform and healthcare disparities to education and economic inequality. Each member brought unique insights and experiences, and together they crafted a comprehensive plan to tackle these challenges. As the initiative gained momentum, Malcolm found himself traveling more frequently, meeting with leaders from various countries, and sharing his knowledge and experiences. He was particularly struck by a visit to South Africa, where he met with community leaders working to overcome the legacies of apartheid. In a small township outside Johannesburg, Malcolm spoke with a group of young activists who were passionate about creating change. One of them, a young woman named Zola, shared her story of growing up in poverty and her dreams of becoming a social worker to help others. "Dr. Anderson, your work has shown me that change is possible," Zola said. "I want to help my community the way you've helped yours." Malcolm was moved by her words. "Zola, your passion and dedication are exactly what's needed to drive change. Remember, every small step you take makes a difference. Keep pushing forward." The trip to South Africa was one of many that reinforced Malcolm's belief in the power of grassroots movements and the importance of global solidarity. He returned to the United States with renewed energy and a deeper understanding of the interconnectedness of their struggles. Back home, Malcolm continued to mentor young leaders and advocate for systemic change. He also focused on expanding the Bridges program to include international exchanges, allowing young people from different countries to learn from each other and build a network of global advocates. One such exchange brought a group of young leaders from Brazil, India, and South Africa to Detroit. During their visit, they participated in workshops, community service projects, and discussions on social justice. At the closing ceremony of the exchange program, Malcolm addressed the group. "You are the future leaders of our world. The connections you've made here and the lessons you've learned will empower you to create lasting change in your communities. Remember, we are stronger together." The young leaders responded with enthusiasm, their faces filled with hope and determination. Malcolm felt a deep sense of fulfillment, knowing that the seeds of change were being sown across the globe. As the years passed, the impact of Malcolm's work continued to grow. The Justice for All initiative led to significant policy changes in numerous countries, and the Bridges program became a model for community empowerment worldwide. One evening, Malcolm received a letter from the President of the United States. It was an invitation to receive the Presidential Medal of Freedom, the nation's highest civilian honor, in recognition of his contributions to justice and equality. At the ceremony, surrounded by family, friends, and colleagues, Malcolm felt a profound sense of gratitude. As he accepted the medal, he reflected on the journey that had brought him here, from the humiliating encounter with the police to the global movement for justice he had helped to build. In his acceptance speech, Malcolm said, "This honor is not just mine, but belongs to everyone who has fought for justice and equality. It is a testament to the power of resilience, community, and the unwavering belief that together we can create a better world." The audience rose to their feet in applause, a fitting tribute to a man who had dedicated his life to making a difference. As Malcolm looked out at the faces of those who had supported and inspired him, he felt a deep sense of hope for the future. The fight for justice was ongoing, but with each step they took, they moved closer to a world where everyone was treated with dignity and respect. And so, Malcolm Anderson continued his life's work, driven by the belief that change was possible and that every effort, no matter how small, contributed to a brighter, more just future. His legacy was not just in the policies he helped change or the programs he established, but in the countless lives he touched and the new generation of leaders he inspired. The journey was far from over, but with each passing day, Malcolm knew that they were making a difference. Together, they were creating ripples of hope and justice that would resonate for generations to come.